In his presence there is comfort. In his presence there is peace. When we seek the Father's heart, we will find such blessed assurance in the presence of the Lord.
Good morning and welcome to Unveiled, a presentation of the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee. Unveiled is simply a one-on-one conversation between Christian people designed to help each of us, as followers of Christ, become more aware of and better respond to the presence of God at work in our daily lives. Okay, my guest today is Chloe Kent. And first of all, Chloe, thank you for taking time out of your day to be with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, good. Let's begin by giving you a chance to introduce yourself to any of our radio audience that may not know you. So just take some time to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name's Chloe Kent. I'm originally from Lewisburg, Cornersville area. I have the best parents ever. I'm 22 years old. I have the best siblings ever. I always say that my brothers are my best friends, so growing up with them was awesome. I also have a sister-in-law named Bretta and a new niece named Lorelei. She's precious. She's my baby. I love her. I'm the assistant manager at Brandon's Brewerista here in Lewisburg. I really love that job. I love the people that I work with. They treat me like a family, and I love that. So I've been working there for about a year, and I actually went to cosmetology school and did not like it. So I decided that that's not the path that I wanted to take. So that's where I'm at right now. I think that about sums me up.
Okay.
Very big family person.
Well, and that's very obvious. I love to hear you introduce yourself and immediately start talking about your family. I think that's really special.
Yeah, I love my family.
You mentioned that you went to cosmetology school and you decided pretty quickly that that was not your life path. What caused you to know that so quickly?
To be honest, the people, like, clientele-wise, they would come to me and talk to me, like, not really nicely, I guess. And then also they would lay all of their, I don't want to say problems, but, like, lay all of their issues onto me. And, I mean, you know, I had my own stuff going on at that time, and it was just kind of hard to have somebody else's packed onto me. And then, I only like doing men's haircuts, and that's all I would want to do is men's haircuts. And so, I mean, I still do like my brothers on the side and stuff sometimes, but, you know, never anything like coloring or anything. I color my own hair, obviously. I have blue hair right now, but, yeah, so, I mean, I think it was just the atmosphere I didn't really like.
Well, you know, that's kind of an interesting profession anyway, because people do tell all when it comes to the person who's cutting their hair or styling their hair.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's almost like a chance for the person sitting in the chair to just have someone to talk to, and so they vent. And,
yes.
You know, I think it would take a special person to take all of those burdens.
It absolutely does, and I wish I could be that person, but I can't.
Well, we're going to be talking today about looking for evidences of God working in our lives, and we may come back to that subject because clearly God is helping you to discover something about yourself even through that experience.
Yes.
So let's talk about your upbringing, your childhood. Tell me a little bit about your religious background. Did you grow up going to church?
Yes, and I guess no. Me and my parents, we went to Osceola Church of Christ. My granddad and my nana always went there. So I grew up going there, but I think I tapered off in the 7th or 8th grade of not going anymore. I would like to say that my religion wasn't my life with Christ wasn't my own at that point. It was more of like I had to get up and go with my parents. Like that was just something that I had to do. My mom would wake me up every morning to go, like every Sunday morning to go. And I don't think I was really listening at the time, you know. But then in 7th or 8th grade, I stopped going and I just kind of fell out. And I mean, I'll still come in here to camps and stuff. I started coming to camps and stuff when I was in 3rd grade because of Miss Andrea Hardison. She was my teacher. She always brought me to, like, she told me to come to things, so I did. And I mean, I never really stopped. But I wouldn't say that I was fully, you know, there and, you know, ready for everything like that. So in my senior year of high school is whenever CYC happened, and I know I'm like repeating on like what Lakin said and stuff, but that trip really changed my life. Whenever we went to CYC, actually the day before, I'd gotten into a really bad car accident, and a fence post went through my windshield. And it really, like, it scared me. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I really need to, like, you know, get my life right, because what if that could have been the end for me? Yeah. And I wasn't ready for it to be the end. And oh my goodness, whoo. And so whenever we went to CYC the next day, that weekend, really just, we had a lot of people there that we had just a really nice conversation with. And I decided that's whenever I wanted to come to Church Street. And I think I'd found where I wanted to be at that time in my life. And then now I've been coming ever since, and I love it. So.
Okay, let's go back to, you said around 7th or 8th grade is where you kind of fell out. Were your parents still going at that time?
Yeah, every now and then. My dad's a truck driver, so he wasn't really home to go. And, I mean, my mom would whenever she could. And then my sophomore year, I think she really stopped going because my dad got sick and she had to go to work. She was a stay-at-home mom up until my sophomore year of high school. And that's whenever she had to, like, you know, go back to work and stuff. And she was working at Frito-Lay, and they wouldn't let her have Sundays or anything off. So, yeah, so that's when my parents completely stopped going. And my mom will go every now and then now when she can. But
I mean, I'm trying to wrap my mind around, you're a 7th grader, which would be, what, about 13 years old?
Young? I was 12. Okay. I was young.
Okay, 12 years old. But was your mother just giving you the freedom to decide to go to church?
She was starting to give me that freedom. I would say it was more of a freedom whenever I was in 7th grade if I wanted or if I didn't want to go. Okay. And I chose not to. I'm not going to lie. I chose not to go. I mean, I wanted to sleep in. You know, there's other things that I'd rather be doing whenever I was in 7th grade on Sunday and Wednesday night.
The same battle everybody
exactly.
fights. Yes.
So, yeah, I never really went. And I would go off and on. Of course, I'd go on Easter because everybody goes on Easter, right? Yeah. You know, I would go and I'd visit all the people there because I did love the people at Austella. I mean, you know, they're all over the age of probably like 70, but they are the sweetest people ever. And I do miss them sometimes. I do go visit them sometimes. But, yeah, I would only go off and on. I wouldn't go, you know, but once a month if I did go. So, yeah.
So clearly we've established the fact that you're a family person.
Absolutely.
You're a people person. You love being around people, and you're very friendly and easy to get along with. So you mentioned this trip to CYC was kind of a turning point. Well, first of all, the car accident. Then going to CYC was kind of a turning point for you. Did you feel like it was that weekend when you were at CYC would you pinpoint that moment when your faith all of a sudden became your own, or was it still a process for you?
I would say that it was at that point that it became my own because, I mean, I just started, like, you know, focusing on everything and, you know, I didn't care about, I cared about other people's, like, you know, faith and everything, but like I really needed to focus on my own, and that was the point where I started focusing on my own. And it could have been like, you know, questioning a little bit still, but whenever I think it was whenever I started in place membership here and started coming here at Church Street regularly is whenever it like blossomed, I guess you could say. But I think CYC was definitely the turning point.
So you could say that God used first, even the car accident, as negative as that is, to be sort of a wake-up call to get you to start thinking about yourself and your life in a different way than you had apparently prior to that.
Yeah,
and then to follow that up with CYC and have that kind of experience, it seems like God is almost just shouting to you at that point.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Absolutely. That's 100% what I think.
Well, and part of the purpose of even having this conversation is, even as Christian people, it's easy for us to say things like, oh, yes, I believe in God and I've always believed in God. But I think it's important for us to start really opening our eyes and to see, is our belief real? And do we really trust and know that God is really working in our lives all the time? Sometimes he's working and we don't even know it. We don't even see it. Or maybe it's many years later we look back and say, I see now when I look back over my life that God's been kind of nudging me in certain directions along the way. And just hearing you tell your story, I can already see some nudgings at various points in your life. Can you?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk again about your job. How did you get to this place where you are with the job you have today?
So I was working at a furniture store in Lewisburg, and I wasn't really liking it. I was a debt collector, and that's kind of a hard job for such a young person because, you do get threatened a lot. Mm-hmm. And, I honestly was just at my lowest at that job. I cried every day going home. It was awful.
How long of a period of time was that?
A year. I worked there for a year, a full year, and I never left.
Now, was that before you went to cosmetology school?
No, this was after.
Okay.
I was pretty low in cosmetology school, but this was my, biggest breaking point was here. And I remember what broke me. So we'd have to stay until 9 o'clock at night if our collections weren't up. Like if we didn't, get enough people to pay their money, like on time, we'd have to stay until 9 o'clock every night. And like I said, I'm a big family person, and I had plans with my family that night. And I had planned on quitting in the next month anyway once I found a new job. But they came to me after I'd been there at 8 o'clock that morning, and it was 3 p.m. and I was about to leave, and they were like, hey, you have to stay until 9 o'clock tonight. That's a 13-hour shift.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I want to go home to my family. We had plans. So I was like, I think I'm just going to leave. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think I quit. And they were like, okay. And, I wrote my little note out about how I quit and everything. And I was like, I hate not giving somebody a 2 weeks notice, but I just had to, for my,
Yes.
Yeah, I had to leave. And then literally 2 days later, I found the job at Brandon's just as a barista, and now I'm the assistant manager. So
did they, at Brandon's, did you answer an ad, or did you just know somebody who knew the opening?
Actually, Stacy Brown had messaged me and said, hey, they're hiring, because she knew everything that was going on. That's one of my best friends, right? Mm-hmm. And she texted me, and she saw a hiring, like a paper that said now hiring on the window when she'd passed there, because she passes through there every morning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I might as well go and check it out. Like, I like coffee a lot. And I knew one person that worked there. I was like, I might as well just go check it out. And she scheduled an interview with me the same day that I put an application in, because I was stopping to get coffee. She reviewed my application while I was getting coffee.
Wow.
And she was like, you want to come in for an interview? And I was like, okay. And so I came in the next morning, got the job on the spot, and been there ever since.
And I've heard you say multiple times how much you love that job.
I do. I like the people. I like the regulars that come through and everything. And I like to see them smile whenever I already know what they're going to order and stuff. I'm like, you want this? And they're like, how'd you know? And I was like, you're here every morning. And I do like my coworkers. We treat each other like a big family. So.
Well, I will say, as a patron of the place, from time to time, you're always cheerful. You're always welcoming. It makes us, as customers, just enjoy dropping in, we know we're going to have a good experience, and that's a compliment to you.
Well, I really appreciate that, because some days I feel like I'm dragging, but I try my best to, serve with a smile.
Well, and you never really, honestly, you never know how much that changes people. Sometimes people that come in there are not having a good day.
Absolutely.
And just need a smile from somebody, and just need some kind words, and you always offer that. And I think that's probably part of your, maybe you could call it a ministry. Maybe, and again, we're looking at life beyond just the surface, right? Mm-hmm. So you can start to ask yourself, why me? Why here? Why now? And the question is God using you right there at your workplace to
I feel like he is sometimes. Honestly, so my boss, the owner, Shan, she came to us and was like, what if we started writing Bible verses on the cups? And I was like, that's a pretty good idea. And like, I'll write some that I know and be like, hey, if you're having a bad day, go read this passage, go read this verse. And they'd be like, I might go do that. And then I would literally watch them sit there and look it up on their phones. And I'm like, that could be changing somebody's, whole day.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say life, but I mean, it could be like, they could be at that breaking point, and, that could be helping them and somebody to talk to about that kind of stuff. And, because not everybody has that.
Right. Well, and the Bible speaks often about us being seed planters, not necessarily responsible for the whole growth process.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so even by writing a scripture on a cup, you're planting a seed, and it could be that God takes that and uses it as that spark for that person. You talked earlier about having this sort of wake-up call experience. How do you know that a scripture on a cup might not be a wake-up call for someone who comes in the barista who's having a bad day?
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
So it's fun to just kind of look for ways that God can use you right where you are in your life to possibly change someone else's life. I don't think we think about that enough.
We don't.
So we've talked a little bit about your family and how important that is. We've talked about some negative experiences you've had in the workplace. So how have you seen the hand of God? I mean, do you see the hand of God even in these negative experiences you've had?
I do. I still, whenever, since 2017, I definitely had, some awful times, and I would see, God in those times and be like, you know what, I don't need to focus on how bad this one thing is. I need to focus how great this huge thing is.
Yeah.
Like I've got, the job that I didn't like over here, but then I have my faith right here that, I can go home every day. And sometimes I would even read my Bible while I was at my desk and everything. And, I can try to focus on my life with Christ more than I need to with my life with a job I don't like. So, yeah, I would, I don't know how to say it, but my words are stumbling over me, but I would, I would feel the presence whenever I'm in my lowest.
Well, and I guess what I'm driving at is sometimes when things are going really well for us, as Christian people, as Christian-minded people, it's easy to pause and thank God for the good things that are happening.
Yes, absolutely.
When bad things happen, however, we tend to say, why me, Lord? Mm-hmm. Where are you? And I just think it's interesting that sometimes God uses negative experiences in our life to, number one, help us get to know ourselves better. Think about your furniture job for a year and how that was certainly unpleasant to you in a lot of ways, and I'm guessing you would never want to repeat that.
No.
But is it possible that God used that time in your life to help Chloe discover more about who Chloe is and what Chloe needs, and to get you on the right path?
Yeah, it definitely. It definitely did. For a more recent, aspect of that, my brother, recently passed away, and that's been really difficult. And I'm not gonna lie, I was asking, like, why would this happen to me? He's so young.
Yeah.
I don't want to go the rest of my life without my brother here. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
I mean, when he passed away, the first place that I came, where was it? You were here, I was here. I couldn't go to my family. I mean, I would have loved to go to my family, but they were all sick at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first place was here. I feel like that helps me a lot, you know, in those rough times, is being able to have a place to come whenever I feel my loneliness. How do you say that word?
You're loneliest.
Yes, that. Thank you.
And that's because this is a family. I mean,
exactly.
that's what we're striving to be as a church, is
exactly.
to be family.
So, I mean, you know, y'all are my family, and I really like having that place to come whenever I need somebody. But, so, I mean, you know, I do feel the presence in, you know, the hard times and stuff, but I was asking, like, why would this happen to me? Like, why does somebody that I love so much have to be taken away so early in my life?
Yeah.
And I mean, recently, you know, I'm like, well, maybe it's just all a part of his plan. Like, you know, I'm here, I'm ready to go. I mean, I hate that he's not, but I just keep having to think to myself, like, this is just all part of his plan. You know, he has a plan for me as much as he had a plan for Lucas, which was my brother. And, you know, I mean, he was just done with Lucas, you know, on the earth, and he needed with him, so.
Well, and that's the part that's hard for us to understand, because we're finite. You know, we are made in God's image, but we're finite creatures, and he's infinite. So at some point, this life is about faith. We either believe and trust God or we don't. And so even as you struggle through that, and I know all that's still very fresh, and you're still grappling for answers to some of those questions that you may or may not ever find an answer to. But as an outsider looking in, having attended the funeral, for example, there was a great outpouring of love there. And I'm guessing that especially among his peers, that I feel confident God may have been using that moment for a lot of wake-up calls for a lot of people.
Absolutely. There was people there that I haven't seen in years, and it was so good seeing them. And I was like, well, maybe this was just their way of bringing them back to us and stuff, because they were such close people to my family. And, I mean, I saw all the people there. I mean, honestly, we got there early, so there was nobody there, and I didn't turn around until we were walking out, and I was just, like, it hit me how many people loved him and how many people's lives he touched. And, I mean, there was people there that I didn't know that he was like, me and your brother talked every day, and I was like, I don't even know you, but I'm so thankful for that. I want to hear all your stories, right? So it was really, you know, heartwarming to see how God used him in this life to, you know, just become friends with all these people. I mean, he was a person that never met a stranger, and he would always take that person in. And I honestly think I learned a lot like that from him. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that's just a classic example, and I'm sure he didn't even realize that.
I don't think he did at all.
So it's a classic example of how, for each of us, for you, for me, for your brother, for any of us, our life is much bigger than ourselves. I mean, we think we're just going through having this daily experience, but the reality is God is moving the chess pieces around and making things happen in life that we're a part of and may not even see it, which again is kind of what we're driving at with this discussion. So as you look at your life from today moving forward, I know you can't predict the future or look into the crystal ball, but what is God up to now, would you say?
Well, I really enjoy Church Street. I mean, not to go back to the past, but whenever I lived in Tullahoma, I did visit a couple churches while I was there. And I mean, honestly, I got some weird looks from people, and I like the welcoming aspect of Church Street. If there's a new person here, like somebody, you know, new and like, you know, just visiting or whatever, I always see one person from Church Street or many people from Church Street go up to them and welcome them like individually, like, hey, we're glad you're here. Please let us know if you need anything, if you need, prayers or anything, just like come to us. And I got that whenever I first started going here. And going to other churches, I didn't get that. So I really would like to stay, in the Church Street, Church of Christ community and stuff, the family. If, I do have to move for something, like a job or something, I would definitely, go somewhere else for a bit probably, but I would always, try to come visit here as much as I can. I do definitely want to stay around Lewisburg, though, because my family is here, and my family is never going to leave here. But I would like to do mission work at some point. I do plan to go back to school, so I don't know how that will line up with that. But
what do you plan to go back to school for?
Okay. Greg Hardison has gotten me into being a funeral director. Okay. He's let me tour the funeral home a few times, once whenever I was in high school, and then another time whenever last year. So I've gotten super interested in that. So I think that's what I'm gonna go for, is mortuary science. I'm pretty excited about it. That's the plan. I mean, it could change. My mind changes every day. So, but this has been the plan for probably about 6 or 7 months now. I just got to get it into gear.
So it is obvious, even when you don't exactly know your future, just like none of us do, that God's still working on Chloe.
I just kind of go with the flow. If I feel like he leads me somewhere, I go. That's what, I've just kind of based it around now.
Well, Chloe, I really appreciate you taking some time to be with me, and you've really opened up and shared a part of your heart, and I'm thankful for that. I appreciate you, and it's easy for me as an outsider looking in to see some wonderful changes that are happening in you, some good changes, and can't help but see the hand of God in all of that, because God is moving in your life, sometimes through some tough times, through some difficult experiences. But you being a family-oriented person already, I think he's just enveloping you with the church family as well, and you're just fitting right in like a nice piece to a puzzle that he's been working on for a long time.
Absolutely.
So thank you again for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's Chloe Kent, and that's this week's edition of Unveiled. You have been listening to Unveiled, a presentation of the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I am Kyle Bolton, the pulpit minister at Church Street, and I would like to personally invite you to come be with us during our times of worship and Bible study together. We meet every Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m. for our morning worship, followed by Bible classes for all ages at 10:15 a.m. We meet again on Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock p.m. We also have a midweek meeting for further Bible study on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. I would also like to invite you to tune in to this radio station every Monday through Saturday from 6:40 to 6:45 a.m. for our daily devotional program called Upreach. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.
In his presence there is comfort. In his presence there is peace. When we seek the Father's heart, we will find such blessed assurance in the presence of the Lord. In his presence there is comfort. In his presence there is peace. When we seek the Father's heart, we will find such blessed assurance in the presence of the Lord. Come
Amen.